Hello, this is Iskant. I'm actually making this video because I just learned something that I had misunderstood. So if we look at this destroyer, it's a Khabarovsk, it's a Russian destroyer. I'm going to be pushing shells into the central part of the ship. We will actually see discolorization here. However, destroyers do not have a saturation mechanic which applies to the central hull. They do to the nose, they do to the tail, but they do not to the central hull. So as we see this get lower and lower, AP shells on the Germans are going to do a base of 3,000 damage. So if we strike this and get a full pen, we'll see 1,000 damage delivered per pen. Of course, it's 1980, but nonetheless, so if we get another 2 pens or a pen and an overpen, it's going to be a kill. Because there is no saturation mechanic on standard DDs in the central area of the hull. However, when we look at the Kleber, you can get saturation on the nose, you can get saturation on the rear, but you can also get saturation in the mid. And just for speed's sake, I will go ahead and shoot this with some AP, preferably at an angle so it actually bites. Nope, just gonna overpen there to show this, because it's actually an interesting interaction. I could use HE, but I'm not going to. So we're going to keep going so that we can get a bit of an angle so that our shells will actually bite. And this is probably going to be enough. There we go. So now we got the 6 pens, and you can see that 6,000 damage there from full pen, but you can also see beginnings of discolorization. So let's see what that does. Normally, we're going to do 33% of rated damage on a pen, so that's a third, that's 1,000 damage. But if we fire now, we got a single pen for 820, and technically a ricochet might have added in there too, but what it's going to end up showing is that there's an intermediate state before you get to the second set of saturation where it starts taking quarter damage. So it goes from 33% of rated to 25% of rated, and then eventually, this is double saturated, where it will go down to 16% saturated damage as normal. So this 1,000 damage a shell is going to get knocked down to 500, and as we see with 2 pens, or with a pen and an overpen, it's going to be, you know, what it is. So the reason why I go through all this is because I had misunderstood the saturation mechanic on French DDs. I had assumed, based on when it was released and how it was announced, etc., that there were 2 saturation states, meaning it would go from the 33% throughput to 16, and then further down to 8. So I had assumed it was double saturation, as in it went lower than normal, but that's actually not the case. There's an intermediate saturation, and then it goes to saturated, which no other DD has. So I had assumed that the French health pool was artificially much larger than it actually was, in which case I think that's pretty cool to know, and I figured I would put a PSA about it because I'm pretty sure I put that information out there and it was wrong, and now that I know it is not wrong, or I know the information that is not wrong, I'm passing it out, so yeehaw.